Hello, Dr. James Bogash, expert in health longevity, and as a practicing chiropractor who sees shoulders quite often. This particular study really, it goes hand in hand with what I've been talking about for years, both with patients and with studies that have come out. But before we go further, make sure you like this video, share it with somebody you think needs the information, and subscribe to the channel. So that being said, MRIs of the shoulder are very common. And maybe when you're younger and you have an injury, it makes sense. But as we start getting older, that MRI most likely makes not a lot of sense and will probably, highly likely, drive somebody towards a surgical outcome that they probably didn't need. I see it all the time. Somebody has has no shoulder pain, and something happens, and they do an MRI, and they have a tear, and so they need to have surgery. Well, brings me to this study. This was done in Finland, a little over 600 Finnish adults, ranging from 41 to 76. So we've got a little bit of middle age on, and they did MRIs of they tried to do both shoulders. And what they found, they were looking for three particular things. There was tendinopathy, so damage of the tendons. Like we see, this is the beginning stages. This is very amenable with soft tissue techniques we do here in the office, with eccentric exercise, with possibly dry needling. I still kind of on the fence about that. PRP, stem cells seem like a little bit of overkill. There's definitely things that can be done to address the tendinosis side of things. Then there's the partial tear. So we haven't quite gone through the tendon yet, but there's some injury. Same things apply that I just mentioned for tendinopathy. And then there's full thickness tear, where a lot of times there's no amount of rehab or anything that's going to bring that back. But does it really need to be fixed? Goes to this study. When they did the MRIs, 99% of people had at least one of these problems on MRI. But you're like, hey, well, what about people with pain versus without pain? The people with pain, it was a whopping 98% of people had at least one of these abnormalities on them. And you're like, see, they should have surgery. The people without pain, 96% of them had at least. So really no difference. That MRI does not give you any information about whether or not that's really abnormal and needs to be fixed, because a huge chunk of people with no pain are having these abnormalities on MRI. Then if we look at the rotator cuff is a series of 4 different muscles. I've never really been a big fan of, I treat the teres minor, but I've never been a fan of really looking at it as being a problem. And this study correlated very closely with what I find in the office, in that supraspinatus was the number one tendon affected, then it was the infraspinatus, and then the subscap. We generally, when somebody comes in, I'm going to work on all three of them if somebody has a shoulder problem. So what does this mean for you? So what can we do? I already mentioned eccentric exercises. Those are easy enough to find online, but it is a muscle lengthening under a load. So if I gave you a 50-pound boulder and said, don't let it hit the ground, it's going to, but your muscles are contracting while they are lengthening. So eccentric exercise is high on the list. Finding somebody who's competent that does the soft tissue work. For our office, we use Graston. Again, there's a couple other different techniques that can be done to effectively treat the soft tissues. If you're having pain, or if you have an injury, this goes for the younger people, don't ever assume it's going to get better on its own. Do the eccentric exercises, use a massage gun, see somebody that does the soft tissue work. By the way, if you're seeing a chiropractor that doesn't do soft tissue work, it's probably not going to help a whole lot for the shoulder, so probably time to find a new one. I already mentioned PRP, so platelet-rich plasma, or PRF, platelet-rich plasma with fibrinogen, can be helpful for regenerating those tissues depending upon what stage you're at. It does not mean you can't do the other things, but PRP can be another more powerful tool. peptides deserve their own separate video, if you will, because I'm still not a terribly big fan. Just haven't seen not enough. I haven't really seen any research. Like even BPC 157, which most people would think of for the shoulder, really has just short of 0 studies on them. And for their use, it's a little bit disconnected. So for now, I generally don't recommend them on top of, I already gave you a long list of things that you can do, and those can generally be very effective for the shoulder. As always, I will post a link to this particular study in the description. Make sure you like this video, share it with somebody you think needs the information, and subscribe to the channel.